It is it's a pleasure. Thank you, Jean-Paul. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. It's I think, the second time that I participate to one of these sessions. I find them extremely interesting for us. So my team is working, among other things, into packaging and packaging waste data collection. And it is, and we have, so our approach is we receive data that is collected from mainly from industry, among others, by environmental protection agencies and environment ministries, and we receive this data, and then we do a process of validation of this data, but it is always kind of far from the actual process. So it is now this is an opportunity for us to learn how things are done. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I would like to start. So, okay, I'm going to talk briefly about the reporting, the calculation point. Then I would like to talk about the effect of change of calculation point, and I will make some similarities with plastic, where it's an area that we have, where we, because of the plastic on resource, we spend a lot of time in it. Then I will talk about reusable packaging. And finally, I got a question before this meeting about the Eurostat EU average. So where does this data come from? And I try to clarify that, and then we will open the floor for questions. Okay, well, if somebody, yes, thank you. Basically, packaging and packaging waste data reporting is collected under Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive. The data we collect is under what we call the 2018 package, where legislation was changed to include it changed calculation point for recycling, so in particular to exclude non-target materials. And there I just copied the sentence from the Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive that explains what is the calculation point, and we do this for different materials. So it's not only, as I mentioned before, so it's not only glass, but we also do it for wooden packaging, cardboard, aluminium. So basically, metal and plastic. So if I go to the next one. So what is our role? My team does the validation of Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive reporting obligations for all packaging materials. Then we have an additional role that is linked to the plastic on resource. I will come back to that, which is the verification of non-packaging waste. Then we develop how we do this validation. It is done by means of developing guidance documents that are available on our website. Then we develop the questionnaires for data reporting, which are kind of strict. So you cannot really report outside of the structure we have, which then helps in the process of validation. And then when we receive the data, what we do, we have a set of arithmetic rules that are called validation rules, where we basically check that the data is correct, or basically these automatic rules will raise automatic concerns, and then we will decide on whether to reject the file or to come back to the country to ask these questions. Then we also perform analysis on the data, cross-checks with all the data sources, time series analysis, and then we also look into together with the data, we receive the quality reports where the methodology for collecting the data and for preparing the figures we receive are explained, and this we also validate. We also ask questions to countries when something is unclear. And we finally, as a statistical office, we have the role and the mandate to disseminate the results to the public. Okay, I'm trying to change. Thank you. So what about the calculation point? So I give you the example of plastic, because the process in plastic has been different as compared to the rest of the packaging materials. Why? Because there was the introduction in the multi-annual financial framework of the plastic on resource since 2021. There is a new source of revenue to the EU budget, which is based on 0.8 euros per kilo of plastic packaging not recycled. And this is based on the same data collection as the glass packaging is sent to Eurostat. Then what happens is that the Commission, who is led by Eurostat, then inspects member states. So we need to make sure, as this has financial implications, then we need to make sure that there is a fair treatment and a comparable method between member states. So then what we do is we come to the member states and we inspect them to be sure that the data is done in a proper way and that data is comparable and that and that the methods are traceable and so on. So then, in this Commission implementing regulation that I mentioned in the slides, this is where we have defined a number of. So it's basically the format that where we define the data we receive from the plastic on resource, but we ask for corrections. Like, for example, when we are talking about waste generation based on placing on the market, then there is the need to correct because of the minimis, because of free riders. Because of humidity of residues, and then we also make sure that the recycling is done at the calculation point and the non-target materials are removed. Okay, so now what I try to do is okay, so what is the calculation point and how it has affected the change in the data. So what I have done is I have compared in this graph, there's the scale is a logarithmic scale, so this is why the 40 seems close to the 75. But you see that plastic, which is the purple one, has gone down in 2020 to 37.6. These are kilograms. This is the recycling rate. And then, so it has declined in plastic. Okay, in 2020 there was the effect of COVID, and there were recycling facilities that were closed. But still, we don't see the same in glass. So it seems stable. And this is a question I also have maybe for you: is why? How can we explain that this has become stable? Also, the 74.9. I will explain later that is still a Eurostat estimate. It could be bigger. For the 2021 data. Then I try to go to the next one. So in 2020 was the first time that we started receiving data on reusable packaging, which is expected to be relevant for glass packaging. First data collection was not, so we collected last year in 2022, and the quality was low, a lot of empty values, and only 7 member states had data of enough quality. In 2021, we are a bit better. So still only 16 member states are of enough quality. But for example, rotations are estimates in most of the cases. And the plan we have is to publish reusable packaging somewhere in 2024. And there is high demand to have access to this data. Just to give you a flavor, here I just put, what I did in this graph was to put the sum. So what you see here is basically the fraction of rotations. So I consider that one rotation is equivalent to one single-use glass. And then I sum both, and then I saw what is the share of the rotations, and according to the data we receive, where we, as I said, we are not sure yet about the quality, but there you can see that it can be very relevant in some countries, and actually it means 50% in the EU average, so it seems quite high. And you also, just to finish, you have this question about how we do the EU average. So why you have this question is because if you just sum the countries that are available and then then you calculate the recycling rate, then you get 77%, while we have 74.9%. So where does the 74.9% come? It's because we have a standard procedure in waste statistics, which is based on carry over the data of the previous year's national values to the year, not for the publication, but for making the EU totals and the EU aggregates. So then we only do this when 60% of last year's value and 55% of member states are are present in the new year, then we do this. And then how we do the recycling rate, we do this EU estimate for the total recycling divided by the total estimate for the EU waste generation. I reckon that we are carrying over, in the case of glass packaging, we are carrying over data from 2019 to 20, and from 20 to 21 from Greece, Bulgaria, and Poland. So, so somehow, when we receive the final data, we will figure out probably that the truth is somewhere in between these two figures, the 75 or 74.9 and 77%. So I think that's all I wanted to say, and I'm ready to answer questions.